I think I love her. She's always singing songs and I sing along. I think I love her. I think I love her. She's always going out and I tag along. I wait in the cold at her instigation, freezing but full of big ideas. A little laugh, a little look, a little dilation. Her voice is the only thing I hear. I wanna shout. She's always singing songs and I sing along. I think I love her, I think I love her. She's always going out and I tag along. I hold her hand at her instigation, praying that it will never end. A little miss, a little dress, a nice occasion, and that is where my little story ends.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Spring 2020. We're up to day 2 of week 4. I am Atlas, and I am joined by the wonderful The Valdanalist. We are going straight to the ship, and yes, you are indeed looking at some champs.
A champ. A pog champ.
We can both be champs, okay? I'm a champ too.
But who looks more like you? Who looks more like pog champ?
That's definitely you. Yeah, but that's just
it's
a genetic
definitely
thing.
me.
Yeah, you certainly won on that.
So we're looking at one champ. It's the pog champ over here, and
oh god.
Yeah. Also beautiful Valdez.
Yeah, beautiful Valdez.
BV.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although I think that's
name.
cheating because you're just using your name as the last one. You know,
yeah, well, I mean, it works. It's B, so
I feel like
beautiful Valdez.
There's not enough B words to really allow the BV to actually come off the ground.
Yeah. Beautiful Velociraptor is okay, too.
Do you want to know who isn't coming off the ground at the moment? It's the Afreeca Freecs. We're going to see them in our first match. These are the standings so far. T1 locking down that top spot. Gen.G hot on their heels, coming for them after today's match, potentially. A 2-0 will certainly solidify Gen.G at the top of the standings. They can even things out with T1 with a 2-1 victory, and they will be behind them if they lose to Afreeca here today. Afreeca, though, they just lost to KT. So we don't necessarily know what to expect from this team. And equally as confusing is Damwon versus Hanwha Live, which is going to be coming up afterwards. Damwon also falling in pretty horrific fashion, and Hanwha are only 1 point behind them in these standings, trying to get towards that coveted left-hand side of the bracket. But let's get into our first one. Points of the match to start things off here. Quick Gen.G. 2-0 win to come out on top, full series versus Afreeca Freecs to the 5-win mark. See whether Afreeca can actually put up a little bit more of a showing here. What roster they're going to be running as well is going to be a big question mark. Always, when it comes to the Afreeca Freecs, we're looking at Keen, and against Rascal, in former years, you might be saying this should be an easy matchup for Keen, but Rascal's actually been playing really well, and he's been deviating from his pure carry style, where he was known for playing things like Akali top lane and Aurelias, things like that in former years. But now, you know, this guy's winning a few games on the old Ornn and things like that, and able to deviate from that particular playstyle.
Yeah, the only thing is that I doubt we'll be seeing any Ornn today, just like yesterday, where it just gets banned every single solitary game on the red side. It feels like things have really solidified in terms of the red side bans. Nowadays, you see Aphelios, Ornn, X, a lot of Soraka banned on the blue side as well. And it'll be interesting to see what they prioritize. We were talking about this a little bit earlier before the cast, because Gen.G, they have 3 players with undefeated records on multiple champions. So you can only really ban one of them alongside of Ornn and Aphelios. So it's not going to be an easy pick ban phase for Afreeca. As we're taking a look at some stats, obviously Gen.G, they feel like the cleanest team to me. Even more so than T1, although T1 is obviously incredibly skilled
and
in
also
their lineup.
They were able to beat Gen.G as well, if you remember back. So Gen.G, I think, have done a lot of tidying since that particular series, and now it's about what's going to happen in the second round robin when Gen.G faces T1 yet again. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. We do need to see whether Gen.G can topple the Afreeca Freecs. First blood record, definitely very high for this squad. That is some nutty stats, and that just shows the form that Clit is in. You were talking about his Jarvan, the fact that, you know, 5-0 so far.
Yeah.
Definitely the cleanest Jarvan so far in the LCK as well, and if you remember back at Worlds, his Jarvan was heads and shoulders above everybody else at that tournament, and they're the best teams in the world. So excited to see what Clit is going to get his hands on this time around, or whether Afreeca are going to be forced to ban it, because Gen.G is starting off on the blue side, which gives Gen.G all of that ban flexibility in the draft phase to start this one off.
You see a lot of Dragon Soul stats at the bottom. Actually, 4 Dragon stats in general.
Yeah.
After First Blood. Both teams, if they get Dragon Soul, they win the game. Again, that's not really too surprising, as Dragon Soul is incredibly powerful nowadays, but we have to talk about this. I think this might be one of the other permabans added to the list alongside of Ornn and Aphelios. It's BDD's Zoe. He's 6-0 on the pick. And even on red side, where you get maybe 1 extra ban, I don't think they're going to let that one fly.
And this was a bit of a sad matchup, to be honest. If you're a Dragon X fan, Dragon X kind of fell off a cliff halfway through the series. They looked competitive in the first game, and then Gen.G turned it all around and claimed victory after victory with these really interesting compositions, with BDD playing once again on his Galio, looking fantastic while he was doing it as well, and layering all of that extra CC and zone control alongside the top lane Rumble, which we haven't been seeing as much of, that Rascal was certainly very adept at. And having a look over the other side of the rift, this was Afreeca in a losing series against KT. They did win one of the matches, but KT really coming out swinging. And this was with Ray actually performing relatively well when he wasn't able to yesterday, and had to be subbed out, and Soan came in to win that series against Sandbox. So a lot of really interesting things to talk about as far as where the form is for these teams thus far, and can Afreeca show us that when their chips are down, they're able to come out with the victories.
I mean, they have so much to prove. Imagine losing to KT and then your next matchup is Gen.G, which could be the best team currently. It's them and T1 vying for a top spot.
Yeah.
So you really have to pick yourself up out of the dumps after that one and somehow put up a fight against Gen.G, which is not going to be easy. As we're taking a look at some of the stats here, obviously Keen is quite the god of the top lane currently.
The damage, what is that? Damage
difference at 15.
Yeah, so Keen's pretty good.
Yeah.
At the video game, guys. That's what we're going to leave there. His CS at 15 also just gigantic. Being on average ahead by 15 CS is just an insane stat. Especially when Keen hasn't necessarily just been playing these carries. He has had the time on things like the Ornn and sitting back and doing a little bit more scaling.
Keen plays so many different things, actually. He's already played 9 unique champions.
Yeah.
In what is it, 3.5 weeks? Not even now, as we're here in week 4.
Yeah, I think the largest champion pool that we have at the moment is 11 champions for some of our players. I know Faker yesterday, he was sitting at 10. But 9 for the top lane, because the pool seems to be so much more condensed up there, is very impressive, to say the least.
He's played Victor, he's played 2 games of Akali. He's one of our guys that is not afraid to break out the Lucian in the top lane.
Yep.
Keen he's such a versatile and unbelievable player in the top lane that it's surprising that they got even close to losing to KT, to be honest, which is why it was such a shock.
Yep, but
and we are going to have a bit of a change up here today, Atlas.
Yeah, completely different players in the mid lane and the jungle from what we saw last time around, as we are not wasting any time. Straight into ban and pick, of course. Due to the coronavirus, we do not have the players walking out on stage anymore. They are going to be ready and in their seats. Also will mean that Mina is no longer with us for this week. She will be back next week for Week 5's matches.
And Little Sick.
And Little Sick also is going to be back tomorrow, but is no longer here today, as Gen.G immediately get rid of All-In's entire champion pool.
I was looking at the champion stats prior to this.
Oh, you'd be looking at a champ, my friend.
Yeah, I'm looking at the champ. Ian's stats. And he's 2-0 on Pantheon, and he's played nothing else. So if they didn't ban Pantheon, you're making a big mistake. And now Afreeca, speaking of making mistakes, will this turn out to be one? As both Ornn and Aphelios are going to be ignored as bans on the red side. They might be looking to trade here.
No, I love this. I actually
targeting
think that Afreeca are going to leave one of them to go through. Gen.G noticed that, and they ban the Aphelios because they don't want to be put into that position where they have to choose between all of these busted picks, right? And then Afreeca are guaranteed to get 2 of them. So they're going to ban the Aphelios on the blue side just to attempt to avoid that, and they're going to look for an Ornn first pick if they can, which they are unable to. So Yuumi is standing out, Set is standing out. A few different options here for Rascal to lock away first up, but he might just go somewhere else entirely. The Jarvan really is a priority in this matchup, but looks like Clid is going to go back to an old favorite here, Sinning, to start this one off with the Lee Sin lock-in.
Yeah, it's his second most played. He's 2-2 on the pick, which is nothing compared to his 5-0 on Jarvan, which is why I think you were correctly stating that there should have been more priority on the Jarvan, but maybe just going for a bit of a mix-up here. And as you mentioned, that strategy in the bans was really smart by Afreeca. It forces Gen.G to use one of their bans to take away one of the OPs. As you do see, the Aphelios gets banned there. Set is going to be locked in alongside of Elise, so nothing but sinners today.
Oh yeah. It is Ezreal Yuumi guaranteed on this round, all too easily. And Afreeca, are they going to pick up the Volley Bear right here is the question. But not going to happen. Looks like Senna is the consideration. 20 seconds to go. Likely to be the support Senna. We did see the really interesting sort of Frostmancy Senna decision alongside the Tahm Kench that did work out for Sandbox in their first game against KT yesterday. But I wouldn't be expecting that. I think Senna does do well as just a pure support and can augment compositions really well moving forward with all of the extra stacks that you can now pick up on 10.3. So Senna will be locked in. That's the choice against the Yuumi. Just fight sustain with more sustain, I guess.
I suppose that's one way to consider it, and it can be flexed. We saw Senna support yesterday. Can also be put alongside of Thomas Kench and go for a no-farm Senna. We also did see that.
Yep.
That did come in one of our early matches yesterday. So the Tahm Kench is going to be taken away. Seems pretty obvious. Now what do they want to take away as more targeting from Afreeca towards BDD?
I think an 80 carry ban could be decent here. The Misfortune might be an option, but the Quinn is what they're going to remove. Interesting that the Quinn ban does come in. That's them assuming that All In is going to be playing a mid lane set, or they're going to be playing some weird support set with a center 80 carry, which could theoretically be happening. And if you are going to play the more supportive center role, you could theoretically use the set in that lane, but I highly doubt it. See what Afreeca do want to do, because this is a team that has made some odd decisions in the past, and we're going ultra range on the bottom side. I actually really like the idea of the Caitlyn Center being able to shoot you from so far away, and especially against the Prowling Projectile, which now is going to fizzle much earlier than it used to. It's a possibility to outrange the Ezreal Yuumi, which is a difficult thing to do, all things considered.
And I'm really curious if they are in fact saving the last pick here for Senna, or not Senna, All In. Because again, he's only played Pantheon. We don't really know what else he's good at or what he's comfortable with.
We know he was
they're going to do exactly that, as BDD goes for the blind Azir.
Yeah, we got Desert buff over the side of Gen.G as Afreeca. 7 seconds to go. Looking like a pretty standard one here with the Syndra being hovered. Certainly a Sinning composition on the side of Afreeca, but they do have the Caitlyn in order to try and guarantee some late game. And their long-range pick is actually really decent with Cocoon into Scatter the Weak, and then all of the follow-up damage that can come through with things like Ace in the Hole and the Dawning Shadow. And then Keen can go for the hard engage if they need him to. Set certainly working well against the Renekton as far as just the style of the ultimate is concerned, but Rascal will be able to go toe-to-toe with the Set in the earlier stages of the game, especially if Clid is going to be up there to lend a hand. Looks to me like Gen.G's composition is a little bit more well-rounded, with Afreeca being able to control the early game if they can get themselves into a tempo advantage.
We didn't see the camera there on Life for just a moment. We have seen a bit of Kellen, a bit of Life, but Life is coming out here.
Yeah, coming back.
Support that has played less games than Kellen, actually, but he does have one game on Yuumi. He's 1-0 so far. When you look at the Gen.G stats, though, as our match points did say, they're extremely clean. Whenever they win, it's usually a 2-0.
Yep.
And we'll see if they can get that out here as a nice amount of scaling in the composition already with the Azir right in the mid lane. BDD 2-0 on that pick. Ezreal Yuumi. And then the response in the top side with Renekton for the lane against the set. Whereas on this side, looks like a lot more sinning. I'll be interested to see if they can make it through the mid game and actually get Caitlyn Senna online for the later stages of the game, because they might have to rely on that. Yeah. Otherwise, it might be all up to all in, which I don't know if that's really a place where Afreeca wants to be put in.
Well, especially not with the amount of form that BDD is in at the moment. Here we are under the rift for game number 1 between Gen.G and Afreeca. BDD having probably some of the best performances we've seen out of a mid laner so far this year, and we'll see whether he continues to do so here in this game, because he's just been consistently outplaying everyone.
Yeah, it does feel like this is the year where both BDD and Faker get back into their like 100% form.
Faker's
Slowly but
LeBlanc
surely.
yesterday was so good. If you guys didn't watch that that series, which you may not have, we had a few lag issues yesterday. Hopefully that has all been sorted out here for today. But you can go back and watch the VOD as T1 put on a masterclass of how to dismantle your opponents.
BDD has Scorch. All In has Gathering Storm.
All In wins.
Already All In wins the mid lane.
Yep. Oh dear.
GG.
Come on, BDD. What were you thinking? That being said, at least Life has figured it out. He's taken Gathering Storm on his Yuumi. Alongside his Presence of Mind, you can see it's going to be the Sorcery Tree for Mystic as well, who's taken his Nimbus Cloak, just to make sure that after he presses his barrier, he's going to be moving a bit quicker. Can help out on the Caitlyn, who can be sometimes a little bit immaneuverable. Immaneuverable. That's a new word.
Immaneuverable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that you were so good at creating new words, but today
Yes,
I learned.
Did. Come on, that's my thing. Well, this should be a lane that Afreeca can certainly win out early. Caitlyn with her lane control has always been something worth talking about. And Jelly's going to be there with basically equal range as well to try and help this one out. So it's likely that Afreeca will have push advantage down here. But Ruler and Life come mid-game are going to be much stronger. The 2-item spike is something we talk about for Ezreal all the time, whereas it's about 3 items that Caitlyn requires in order to come online.
Yeah.
So not going to be winning anytime soon as Ruler, but he will find his time in the sun when we get to about that 15 to 25 minute mark during this game.
You see how early they ward over the wall there? When you're going up against an Elise, you always have to be careful. I feel like it was a little bit too early because generally Elise wants level 3. But either way, they're going to play it extremely safe down here on the bottom side. The worst thing you can do is die early as in Ezreal. Yuumi, as Dread does make his way down, but they spot him on that ward.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and I think he saw that Clid was doing his Raptor camp as Dread is going to come over and try and steal this one. Ruler and Life, they do not want to give this up as Jelly's rotating over as well. Clid finds Dread. He's probably going to have to flash. Repel's going to go up first, and now they're looking to turn it. Clid going down very low. The counter smite comes in from Dread to keep him alive, but the Zoomies are helping Clid stay up as well. Q is going to land. Mystic going down relatively low as Clid doesn't want to get trapped here. He's going to have to do some geometry, as so does Ruler. Gets over the side. Mystic with his barrier keeps himself alive, and there's the piercing darkness to keep Mystic up also. No one to die, but some sick mechanics on display already.
Oh man, that was a fight on a knife's edge if I've ever seen one there, as it looked like Clid was going to die, but it didn't end up happening, and then maybe if 1 or 2 Qs had landed from each of the different players on the side of Gen.G, they could have picked up first blood. It doesn't end up happening. The scheme comes down here, steals the scuttle, but we are going to take another look at a replay. Dread with that split-second switch to Spider into Repel. That was kind of like the leveling game where it's like, can I get this Q off if I time it correctly?
Yeah. And Mystic, see, blocking the resonating strike by putting down these traps as well. So cute. You were probably looking at Clid saying, why hasn't he gone in? And the barrier timing, like you were saying, just absolutely incredible.
And then that Q just sails wide, just barely. Man, that really could have gone either way as, well, we might actually have some action down here on the bottom side.
Yep, Jelly diving on in, Ruler in a bit of trouble, no flash, remember, but the snare is going to go wide. Dread going very deep as First Blood does come in. I think that was a Spiderling that helped out there, but no, the red buff is what ticked down and took down Ruler for First Blood for Afreeca. This is looking way better for the squad that was struggling against KT earlier in last week's matches.
This is actually some really sick action down on the bottom side. I love how Life just popped out there and blocked the cocoon. You mentioned that one spider that was able to just barely take the life of Ruler, but he was so close to surviving. As maybe if he had a potion for this second fight, he would have survived, as we're going to take a look here.
Oh, this was Jelly actually stopping the backs, which meant that Ruler and Life had to stick around. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, Jelly, what a god. He's had some really good games.
And
as you're right.
See the flash.
Yeah.
Safeguard is just barely not enough. Pretty sad moment there for the Ezreal, but either way, a great moment for Afreeca to get things started down on the bottom side. Great revisit on the gank as well, after getting all summoners out of the bottom side prior to that one. And because of the lane state, they couldn't necessarily just back away, and they might even just go for it once again, although Dread is going to reveal himself here.
Yep, looking to try and at least bully Clid away from his Raptor camp. They do so. And All In going to come down as well. They deny this camp, but Clid is right there to pick up the little popcorn chicken. And now Dread comes in and finds Clid once more. Q going to go wide, and All In with all of that lane control that he had, considering the push on BDD's back. He's able to get through and make sure that Clid is kept as honest as possible throughout this early game. And I really like this. It's Afreeca playing around exactly where they know that they're strong. They're leaving Keen on his island towards the top side. They know that he's going to be able to survive. Rascal will have the priority up there. But this mid to bot side is all about Afreeca, and Gen.G are getting shut out.
Yeah, I mean, the early game is going to be quite fantastic for the side of Afreeca. You notice that both 80 carries went back and bought a cull, as I think both of them were forced to back pretty early on with the amount of health that they lost. Yeah. So they're like, I mean, I have enough for a cull, might as well pick it up here. But already over 20 CS ahead down on the bottom side is Mystic and Jelly.
And they've already taken a turret plate as well. This is what Caitlyn is so good at earlier on. She's got this weird thing, because we talk about Caitlyn and her power trough all the time, as there's a bit of biffo going on towards the top side and Rift Scuttler being taken here by Clid, but Caitlyn is still, you know, 1 to 6 extraordinarily strong in the lane, because you can abuse that extra range that you do have to get consistent poke onto your opponent. So that trough doesn't come in until that mid game comes down, where you feel like you don't necessarily have the consistent damage to go toe-to-toe with someone like an Ezreal who does have that ability to burst the opponent down. So we'll look to see whether Mystic can actually bridge this gap in power as this game moves on. Because if the game continues like this, Mystic won't experience that trough because he'll be far enough ahead to accelerate himself past it, which is something that we talk about. So you and me going to come through, the poke coming down onto Ruler, but thankfully some zoomies are going to be there to keep everything all right. And these plates are just getting evacuated from this turret.
Hey, you can see Mystic on the left side here already about 800 gold ahead of the Ezreal. Clid with a small stat there. He's 70% win rate on his Lee Sin. He's just pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And he has hit, no, he hasn't hit level 6, so maybe that's part of the reason why they're not going to force any kind of gank onto the top side. And you'll notice what happens when any root lands onto Ruler. He's just immediately going to take half his health and damage from that long-range duo.
Yeah, it's the Peacemaker and the Piercing Darkness. There's the Facebreaker onto Rascal. Can Dread actually land the Cocoon? Is Rascal going to win the mind games? The Cocoon comes down, but Rascal had already flashed. So it was in fact Dread winning the mind game and then sending the Cocoon in the wrong direction. a little bit unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can actually you can confuse your opponent by continuing to auto-attack, and it looks like the wind-up for the Cocoon. But Rascal actually picking the correct one that time around.
Yeah, he's at least able to force the flash out of the top side. It was looking pretty aggressive by Rascal on Descent earlier on in this lane, but now you'll notice he has to play much safer, and the lane is pushing away from him. So this actually opens up a nice little moment for Keen to enjoy his lane a little bit more. He's already picked up the Ninja Tabi, so he's going to be having a much easier lane either way. And this is pretty nice out of All In. You know, he's using that Syndra pretty well. He's always pushing the lane really incredibly hard and not allowing BDD any time to move out of the mid lane. And he's already opened himself up a tiny little lead here in the CS.
Yeah. BDD not going to get stunned up there by the Scat of the Week that does come through. Jelly was thinking about trying to throw a snare over to try and help out, but Dread's going to be starting on this Mountain Drake as BDD, where are we going? That was perplexing. Okay. Follow-up damage is going to come down. There's the Unleash Power. And a bit of extra poke, but never going to kill there onto BDD, who intelligently purchased some Merc Treads very early on in this game. Answering Merc Treads are going to be there for All In also. Not going to be too worried about getting stunned up. But not that many stuns, actually, apart from Ruthless Predator coming out from Rascal this time around. So Merc Tread's possibly an interesting choice, as now BDD dives on top of All In. The follow flash is going to come down. Emperor's Divide's too good. And the kickback underneath the turret, Clid is going to try and take it, but it was BDD that got in there with the Conquering Sands to sort out that kill. But still, everything's going wrong elsewhere on this map, and Afreeca hold on to their 1,000 gold lead.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you don't want to... That Syndra is 100% dead. Don't steal the kill away from your scaling mid laner.
Yeah.
And he was trying really hard, as you could see. But that did not happen. This is a
little bit overly aggressive. That's the final chapter out from Life, but Ruler didn't have the follow-up damage. And Ace in the Hole comes in. Zoomies are there to answer. Not really too worried about that one, but it was looking a little bit dicey there for the bot lane of Afreeca. All too easy.
No flash. And that was it. As in the meanwhile, we did have Dread making his way down to the bottom side. They really want to take out this turret if possible.
Dread. Okay, we're going to have All In moving down here, which is why Dread felt like it was safe to move up in front of 3 people. Yeah. First turret blood should be going down here on this wave. Nothing that Gen.G can really do about it, as Clid decides that his Krug camp's going to be more important than trying to protect this basically already dead turret. And now Mystic's job is going to be rotating around this map, continuing to get more and more of that gold, as he's even with the clock right now and building that flat damage and attack speed to make sure that the structures do not last very long in the sights of this Caitlyn. I love this. It reminds me of watching Deft play things like the Jinx, the Tristana, the Caitlyn in the past as well, where the strategy isn't actually about beating your opponent, it's about just breaking their house down. And what they can do now with Mystic is move him into the top lane, as you can see, moving up there at the moment, and just try and crush down these turrets and bridge that trough that you get with the Caitlyn as effectively as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I felt like that bottom lane was slowly being taken over, essentially, by Ruler himself, going 1v2 for a bit there, but quickly after, they called down the cavalry to help out and push that lane. As you mentioned, the lane swap is coming in here. No Shellys were taken yet. Dread was considering it now at 13 minutes into the game.
As now BDD going to find yet another one. No flash available from All In, but Life trying to get in there with the final chapter. He does so because You and Me is a pretty good ability, but the exhaust is not enough to actually lock All In down. They didn't have the burst damage, and now Afreeca are looking to try and turn this one. Keen looking to get on top of BDD, but he just shifts some sands, gets himself out of there as Keen haymakers to clear up this minion wave, and now Afreeca should have priority over the Rift Herald if they would like to take it.
They're going to start it up now. They can always rotate down the Caitlyn here. The Emperor's Divide as well as down as the flash from BDD, so the playmaking ability is going to be kind of offline for now. Clid still has Dragon Kick if he did want to go for it, but I think at this point, Gen.G just going to say, we can't really fight over this. Let's give it away. Try to farm up a bit of solo gold and XP down on the bottom side for the Renekton. Keen doesn't have his TP, so they might be able to get a bit of damage stun down there. And yeah, I mean, this top lane, even though Ruler, obviously very far behind from the early game, he's still kind of keeping up. The gap hasn't opened more than 20 CS since that early game, so he's been doing a good job there. But obviously this early game is still going to go in favor of Afreeca. Yeah. Now, I wonder how much priority Gen.G is going to put on fighting over this first Infernal, as it's either going to be Ocean or Cloud Soul that does come through.
And actually, to be honest, if Gen.G just wait, give this Infernal Drake up, and then get a quad stack of Ocean Drakes, after utilizing their mid-game power spike that they will have with the Renekton, the Lee Sin, who's also relatively strong at that stage, and of course the Ezreal, which will have his time in the sun as soon as these items have been completed, might be an opportunity for them, as Scat of the Week does find BDD. They do look to try and take this one down. Shelly is going to just pop into this turret, and the solo gold to go over to Mystic there as that one falls down. Second turret of the game goes to Afreeca, as Ruler and Life are trying to get their work done towards the top lane. That cull has been cashed in, and Ruler's now going to be able to go back and complete something that will help things out here, as it is Cloud Drake, unfortunately not quite as powerful as what that Ocean Drake would have been in the hands of either of our teams. Bit of a pipe dream, though, to be honest, talking about Gen.G being able to get any map control, because they've got a lot of work to do before they're able to wrestle back some sort of tempo advantage. And Afreeca's composition also has a lot of power come mid-game.
Yeah. When
you look at things like the Syndra, the Elise, and even Set to a certain extent in these engagements.
Yeah, you notice that there was really no priority put over the Cloud Drake by Gen.G. They say, let's trade back some gold, try to catch up there, and in fact they have. You know, they've closed that 2,000 gold gap to about 1,000.
Yep.
And the Cloud Drake, obviously, I think the Ocean Drake would have been better for both teams in pretty much any circumstance, but Cloud Drake for the side of Afreeca is not half bad. The Cloud Soul, I should say.
Yeah, true.
If they do get that, because the speed on the kiting ability for both Mystic and Jelly will be quite nice, and Syndra, Elise, and Set always want to be in position, not to mention ultimates, but here we go. They're looking to collapse now on the top lane.
Yeah, a bit of extra movement speed there as all three members of Afreeca are up here. Snare not going to come in though, and Rascal finds himself in amongst three people with the Dominus running. Now BDD comes through. It's the one-man ultimate, but it was about to hit three. It was great dodge, but a double kill is going to come forward. Clid grabs one of them. Unleash Power secures the kill on the Azir, but he's already put so much money into his back pocket, and Gen.G do fire back.
That was a pretty sick collapse by the side of Gen.G. Keen with no teleport, and they identify, hey, they are way too up in the lane. We can collapse on here with the TP coming out of Rascal, and he just goes man mode as well. He flashes into three people, not giving a damn, and really locking them all down. There was kind of a funky moment where BDD got caught on the trap but still went through. I'm not sure if that's working as intended, but we'll see that here again.
Yeah,
Rascal flashed in.
To see what actually happens.
Yeah, the trap goes down. He gets through it, he goes through it anyway. I don't know. I suppose that's intended. Yep. But press R to win was nice out of all in, as he had to flash to get in position for that one. It's like, I've gone in with my flash. No cocoon. They all don't have flash, is what he's saying.
Yep. Stopwatch from Jelly avoids the Emperor's Divide, but unfortunately, Mystic just got swept up in that one, and BDD just caused all of Afreeca to need to avoid that ultimate, and it meant that everybody else was able to clean up. So really nicely done from Gen.G to pull back in this mid-game, and it's exactly what we were talking about with their composition. They do have the capability to get there, and with the Azir having more money, it means that we will see BDD able to impact this game earlier than he may have otherwise been able to, given the early game not going in favor of Gen.G.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like the BDD effect, you know. Sits back in lane, farms up, and then he's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to 3-man Emperor's Divide, no big deal.
Yeah,
Let me pick up 3 kills. I might die at the back of it, but who cares? I'm going to be fed, I'm going to be scaling, and I will carry my team.
And now
yeah, still undefeated on the Azir. Might be picking up 3-0 if they are able to pull this game back.
He's pretty good at that, champion, as it turns out. And now, speaking of being pretty good and champions, Ruler is on the Ezreal. He's going to have the Trinity Force as he goes back. As you can see, was completed right there, perfectly on cue, as he teleports back to this mid lane. And he can exert so much more pressure now with this 2-item spike that we talk about so often. It's exactly the timing that he wanted it, and this is when Gen.G are able to really tidy up this game. That Unleash Power did not work.
That's not how Syndra works, Solid.
Yeah.
You can only push your orbs, not the minions, as he also misses the cannon. A bit unfortunate.
Yeah, that's it's
but
a cavalcade of errors.
He knows
right
where
there.
the R button is, though. We do know that. He pressed the R button in the last fight, so there is hope.
Nailed it. That's what you need.
Syndra.
It suits the Cloud Drake play, you know?
Yes.
They get the Cloud Soul, then pressing your R button becomes even more important. But Jelly taking way too much damage. True Shot Barrage. Oh man, I love it when a plan comes together, eh, Ruler? Able to pick up that kill onto Jelly so easily, and now the siege will commence. It's Ezreal's time in the sun, and 2 items is not enough for this Caitlyn, as Afreeca are really feeling the trough. I thought that maybe he'd accelerated far enough, but as you can see, this is all about Ruler now. He's going to get stunned up, though. As Mystic trying to get into position, but there's the face breaker and the showstopper as well, and Keen is just going to be able to clean up that Ezreal. Cast curse the heck out of him right there. I apologize, as Gen.G will take their first Drake of the game.
Yeah, nice little, I don't know if I should call it a flank out of Keen. There was just no vision over there, and Ruler should have just gone straight down the lane, especially when seeing everybody running at him as he's running into the bush, but wasn't able to read that. Meanwhile, Gen.G were just doing the Cloud Drake, no big deal, as their amount of poke damage just between Azir and Ezreal is already
and Yuumi as well.
Yeah, Yuumi as well. Can't forget her. Watch that. They're all running at him. And then just gets outplayed by Keen. Tries to go for the flashy play, but I think he should have just saved
He got
the
outplayed
splash.
by Unleash Power.
Yeah.
Feels bad.
And by Keen, who
Yeah.
just like wrecks him and puts him in position.
Yeah, and somehow Afreeca actually had a whole lot of extra control as far as vision was concerned there towards that bottom side, despite Gen.G already being on the dragon, so maybe just not crossing their T's and dotting their I's as effectively as they otherwise would have wanted to on Gen.G's side. But still, Ruler is strong, manages to grab his first kill of the game in that last exchange, and is now moving towards Blade of the Ruined King and item number 3. Still hasn't completed boots yet, probably looking for Lucidity to come up relatively soon. But the cat on a book now has an extra book, and he's trying to add extra pages to it as well. Some more diary entries to be put forward in his Majia's Soul Stealer.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice life for the Yuumi. Just float
Hey,
around
I see
on the
what
book.
you did
You have a goblet. You're just drinking whatever you want out of that thing, and you're
Yep.
just floating around, following people. You don't necessarily have to click that much.
What would Yuumi drink?
Having
What
a
would
good
be
time.
the preferred drink
Grape
for a Yuumi?
juice.
Grape juice, you reckon?
Yes, absolutely.
My cats don't drink grape juice. Should I be feeding them grape juice?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Don't want to give anybody any bad ideas. I don't
Yeah.
think cats drink grape juice. You might want to look that up before
If they're
you...
magical book writing cats, they do drink grape juice,
Yeah.
though. That's the point.
Cats like water.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Kittens
Mine
can drink
especially.
milk, I think, but generally you just want to give them water.
My cat only drinks water out of the tap.
Really?
Yeah, you need to turn the tap on for him in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And he only drinks it out of the tap.
I like those cats. They're cute.
Yeah, it's Dang-Changy. You're a
Dang
big fan of
Changy?
Dang-Changy.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Mhm.
He's got a lot of personality.
He does have a lot of personality. He was lying in the middle of the floor this morning, and I tripped over him twice when I was getting ready for work.
It's better than standing on your keyboard
Yeah, he
or
does
right
that
in
too.
front of your face.
He definitely does that one too.
Yeah.
As now Gen.G setting themselves up for this siege towards the mid lane. You can see the way that they've been playing has transformed over the last little while. As Muramana transformation comes in for Ruler, he's going to be able to solo take down this outer turret in the mid lane. collect that one up for himself. 2 items have been completed now for BDD. The Azir is very scary. Flash at the ready right now. Clid will also have his Dragon Rage available.
This really feels like a great example of Caitlyn versus Ezreal. You know,
yeah,
like
man.
The early game was just destruction with the help of the jungle, but the lane was pushed all the way in by the Caitlyn and Senna. And then mid-game hit, Ezreal picked up Trinity Force and Muramana, and he's the one in charge and sitting in the mid lane, bursting down your support. Not much you can do. And once Caitlyn gets that 3rd item, 4th item eventually, she is going to become stronger than the Ezreal. So it's kind of the sign graph is Keen is just a ninja in this game.
Yep, he is going to be able to find Clid there, but he safeguards to get himself out. The smite to be used to make sure that his health gets back up, and now he's back to full as the zoomies come in over the top. Life there just to protect him. And he's definitely named correctly based on his champion choice because he's given life to all of his teammates. Unfortunately not able to give it to Ruler earlier on, but Clid, I would have assumed that he was going to die there, but Secret Agent Keen not quite able to seal the deal. The license to kill not quite being picked up just yet. As he is 001, but we're not quite at 7 just yet.
Yeah, hopefully he can pick up some more assists for that poor book that only has 1 page right now. That's not, not a very interesting book. It's only got 1 page.
No, he's still writing it, you know. He's just got a bit of writer's block here in this mid-game. I'm sure as late game rolls around, he'll have some extra inspiration.
There'll be a lot more things to talk about for the book and for us when it eventually does happen, because for now, we've entered the wait 5 minutes, kill a Drake, wait 5 minutes, kill a Drake stage. Otherwise known as the lull state.
The undulating lull state. But no, BDD is going to deny it as Keen uses a blast cone to get himself out of the way. And I take it all back. Lull state once again in full effect. But 3 seconds until the Cloud Drake does come back up. And Afreeca want to threaten this Cloud Soul as early as possible, as they do not want this game going too long. Although I guess, you know, scaling is an interesting question for this composition, is now Keen taken down to about half health, and in fact, that's too much damage. Haymaker has to be used early just to keep himself alive. As BDD cleanses, Mystic now diving on forward as 2 Cloud Drakes now completed for Gen.G, but they're still looking for more of a fight. True Shot Barrage still on cooldown. We're fishing for Qs, trying to find opportunities to get in. And Emperor's Divide on cooldown means that Gen.G don't have too many options. Mystic over to the side, takes half of his health bar and damage just from a Conquering Sands. And an auto attack from BDD. He is scary on this Azir. But Afreeca still moving as a unit, and Keen waiting for a teleport flank opportunity from the base.
I watch the Cloud Drake go down, and then I see Afreeca stick around, and I'm just shaking my head next to you. I'm like, no, 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 no. Do not try to push into Azir, Ezreal, and everything else. Now you can try to re-engage. Although the disengage opportunities and options for Gen.G are plentiful.
Yeah.
But you got to be so careful, especially BDD in form on a fed Azir. You can't just run straight into them and take a multitude of hits from every different direction and, you know, get poked down to half health before the fight starts. You got to have that big engage that starts with the set, is followed up by Elise and Syndra, and then you have a lot of room for your Caitlyn, rather than slowly, you know, just kind of idling around and taking half your health and poke damage, because that's exactly what Gen.G wants. It's just the 1 Cloud Drake. You lost it. You didn't have time to get in position to fight on time, so just give it away and wait for the next one.
Well, Mystic now has 3 items, so we're getting back into scary territory for all the Caitlyn, who we saw shoot off 1 auto attack into Ruler and obliterate its health bar. So that's good news. Blade of the Ruin King now done for Ruler, though. That cocoon timing was questionable at best out of Dread. A possible kill opportunity there.
Very best.
Yeah.
We're not going to mention the worst things, because we don't want to insult
Our cups are half full, okay? That's what we're allowed to do here on this particular broadcast.
Once you move into the analyst role, you have to have a glass half empty, right?
Oh,
Is
right.
that just the way it works at the LCK now?
I don't think so. I mean, I think Papa's cup was relatively half full.
Yeah. Until he started working 6 days a week, and then it was...
Yeah, I know, but then, like, how are you supposed to fill up your cup? Can't get it refilled. There's no time off as Mystic takes huge burst from Ruler. True Shot Barrage searching for the Caitlyn, not able to find her. as there is soul vision available for Afreeca Freecs around this Baron area. But look at this, Gen.G just fighting as a unit, and their poke damage is too much. Afreeca, despite having relatively decent range on their composition, are not able to contend with the poke that Gen.G is able to put forward. Great stun coming out from all in there, but still not able to deter Gen.G from continuing to siege up. They're going to move through the jungle now as Keen is going to find Rascal. He's going to be able to actually win this fight, as I have a feeling that the Crocodile is going to be absolutely fine in this moment. Red, just gets queued and dies. Okie dokie.
I'm so glad that Ezreal is back in the meta. Aren't you? I mean, this is just so much fun.
Remember, this Ezreal also got completely pummeled in the early game.
Didn't seem to matter.
No, he took an Unleashed Power right there and is absolutely fine, despite not having any magic resist just yet. Zumi's being spammed on him for the moment, as now Gen.G are going to dive onto the Baron pit and look to try and take this one down.
Thankfully, the Morello's was completed on the Elise. Otherwise, she might have had a stopwatch and lived.
Oh, God. Please don't talk about it. There is too many Morellos on this Afreeca side. We should take a photo for LS because it's one of the worst opportunities for it, but the Baron is going to be taken here by Gen.G. No even attempt to go for a 50-50 on the side of Afreeca. Gen.G have well and truly taken control back of this game. Mystic will see whether he can actually get himself some items to try and contend here, because right now it just looks like the Caitlyn is not enough. As I don't know what Dread was really thinking, to be honest.
Oh, that's max range. I mean,
why do they have two Morellonomicons, dude?
You shouldn't be there anyway. Yeah, I mean the Morello. I was gonna say something, but
I mean everyone has magic resist,
a Yuumi
apart from Rascal, but he's actually got a lot because he's level 17.
Glad stole that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there's a Yuumi and a Renekton, but I still don't think it's worth it really.
I mean, Yuumi does do a lot of healing, right? But I think they might be overestimating.
It feels like just against their poke composition, like they can just disengage, wait for the debuff to fall off.
And also, Afreeca have a poke comp.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
want to kill one target. They don't want to, like, well, sorry, they have a pick comp. So they can take out one target before they have any opportunity to actually heal anyway. So it's not about that. It's not going to be about 5v5s. If they're 5v5ing, Gen.G's going to win because their comp does it better. I don't know, man. It's it's bad news bears.
It is.
But you know, there's an extra 2 pages in this book, so
true.
Life is stepping up.
A lot more for you need to read and talk about.
Yep. That's what we're going to talk about, yeah. 5,000 gold is the lead here for Gen.G, still with the Baron buff. Circling around them, and Rascal is going to have to contend with 5 people moving towards his lane. He's going to back away, though. And Clid is looking to try and threaten a Cloud Soul. And so exactly what I was talking about in the mid-game, about waiting for the first 2 Drakes to go down and then stacking one particular Drake. Would have been way better if it was Ocean Soul, but still, this is going to be a Gen.G that's going to be running around real fast and shooting out ultimates left, right, and center.
Yeah, it's the ultimate part is obviously would have been a bit better for Afreeca, but not the way the game did play out.
I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at Emperor's Divide, Dragon Rage both being very pivotal ultimates, and True Shot Barrage and Lost Chapter being pretty spammable, to be honest. You want to be True Shot Barraging as many times as possible just to try and get poked down, and Ruler's going to have that option so many times in this game.
I suppose it's pretty good for both sides, but the movement speed going to be quite nice, especially for this poke comp from the side of Gen.G. It feels like a poke comp. They have the Lee Sin and the Renekton for other gears at the same time. And now that Gen.G have taken the lead here, taken down the Baron, Afreeca won't leave their base. They've decided, okay, we do not have the ability or the confidence to come out of our base and actually take a fight yet. So we're just going to wait for the Cloud Drake.
All right, in goes Kane. He finds Clid there as Haymaker's going to do a fair bit of damage, but not enough. And Clid just walks away. Zumi's come in as well, and he'll be back to full health before you know it. Sun Turret falls down there in the mid lane. Afreeca have done a decent job of stopping their base from being actually broken at this stage. But it feels like only a matter of time before Gen.G win this war of attrition. And it's really impressive that after the early game that Afreeca were able to dominate, Gen.G have stabilized so well. just feels like the Afreeca composition was sinning a little bit too much, and despite being able to figure out a really good early game strategy, the transition period into the late game just didn't work.
Yeah, the Elise and the Caitlyn, as you can see, are not necessarily working too well together as the game comes along. Looks great in the early game, right, when the Elise actually gets some good ganks down, but Dread had so much responsibility to keep that ball rolling after the good early game, and it all got shut down with the collapse in the top lane where they got the 3 kills on the side of Gen.G. After that happened, Elise was pretty much invisible in this game and wasn't able to do anything.
Rule has the most gold in the game as well after dying twice.
He's got a pretty insane number of CS, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, curving some bullets here on Mystic's side as BDD takes a bit of a chunk, but Shifting Sands shield will help him out there.
I wonder if Afreeca are going to fight over this Cloud Drake. I feel like with the Caitlyn, maybe you just sit back and try to wait for 6 items or something, but...
I mean, 4 items is still pretty good.
Yeah.
Here for Mystic,
you're
who
going
does
up
now
against
have
an
materials.
Azir.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to hard outscale the opposing team anyway.
And Rule is going to have triple lifesteal, I think, in this game. I think that BF Sword will be a Bloodthirster. And then Mercurial Scimitar will come in, and alongside the Blade of the Ruin King, it will mean that with Yumi's help, Ruler is going to be healing a hell of a lot, despite the 2 books on the side of Afreeca. Maybe that's going to increase the legitimacy of these Morellonomicons, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, Senna also has a... what's that item called? The
Umbral Glaive? The Executioner's Calling?
The Executioner's Calling. Yeah, they're really focusing on denying as much healing as possible.
It just shows how much respect they give to this Yumi pick. And I personally don't necessarily feel like it warrants it, but that might just be the Leandru Salesman's influence on our broadcast. We have to say it, you know? LS can't be here today, therefore we need to fill in for exactly what he would say.
Well, we got objectives coming up, so the farming phase of 4 minutes is now over, and we might have some skirmishing here as Ruler and Life together are trying to zone out the enemy team.
Well, BDD and Clid are just, two-manning the Baron. Rascal's going to get into the pit as Dread. He's going to get kicked away. Q comes back. Clid so clean on that confirm as Mystic looking for Clid, but Clid just going to flash over this wall. There's the showstopper for BDD. Is going to go golden, and now Afreeca with an opportunity to take down at least the Azir, and now Gen.G will need to get the heck out of here. Rascal does have a GA, doesn't want to give it up on this particular moment, and Dread still chasing after him. But Clid, Ruler, and Life all in trouble. The snare not going to land as Ruler does find Keen, or does Keen find Ruler? Base smash going to come forward as Clid is going to go down, and now it's just tidy up here for Afreeca.
Oh, he's trying to TP!
Oh, no. Yeah, he's going to get taken down. Life as well gets all of the pages ripped out of his book. Oh, dear. Rascal the only one with the Baron buff on this squad. So what started off really nicely was, finished not so well.
Yeah, they were just corralled by the set, essentially. If you take a look at the positioning, first of all, really clean Baron take here by Clid. But then it's set coming all the way around from Keen. He flashes the wall, doesn't even waste any time taking the blasting plant. He knows that this is a really time-sensitive thing. He's got them kind of like a crocodile with his mouth open. He collapses on in and he funnels the entire team over here to the east side. And it's essentially because of Keen's positioning that Afreeca were able to get this opportunity. So shout out to him as the TP comes in.
Oh no! Out of position. As Rascal's going to kill All-In. All-In's just dead. Flash comes forward. Jelly not going to find any piercing darkness, but it is going to be immediately the last Baron being taken away from Gen.G. That's a bit of a waste, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, ends up not really mattering at all.
The guitar strum from the Elise is absolutely
so
perfectly timed. Like,
yeah. Oh, he actually denied it. As they're pushing in the mid lane, they're trying to stop the backs here because Caitlyn is such a huge portion of their wave clear.
Yeah. Especially with All-In dead. Certainly is going to be an opportunity here for Gen.G to get some decent damage on these inhibitor turrets. Mystic taking a Mystic shot. But look at all of the lifesteal that the Caitlyn does have. I think he'll be absolutely fine. They do take down the turret, as now Sun Turret's being set up, but Keen looking for a position to try and get that ultimate off. Haymaker comes in, everyone avoiding that true damage, as Sun Turret taken down for now. Gen.G do manage to escape. It is sole point for both teams. We're going the distance when it comes to the Dragons this game. 3.5 minutes and that one will be available. The Baron is probably going to be on their minds more. Moving towards Elder Drake is going to be a big deal. And we've delayed it as long as we possibly can, as those 6 items you were talking about are finally in for Mystic. And of course, we've got Heal Deny out of 4 of the 5 members of the Afreeca Freecs. So Life, buddy, all of the respect to you, my friend.
Hey, he's going to have a difficult time healing people up, I suppose, if they spend this much money to deny it. Yep, he's got 150 range right now on the Senna, so Jelly not even half bad with his items that he's stacking up. And no doubt we're just going to sit here until 3 minutes later when that Cloud Drake does spawn, and then we will have a big fight that determines who is going to win this one. We're going to have the Baron coming up at around the same time, so things can get interesting. Do you value the Cloud Soul over the Baron, or vice versa? For both teams, actually, as we'll have to wait and see which decisions the teams do want to make here. TP down on Keen, so he's going to probably have to respond to the Renekton here. Yeah, he's going to go for a recall now.
Scary thing is that if he responds to the Renekton, because he's the only one that can actually stand toe-to-toe, we already saw All In get destroyed by the Crocodile, the answering teleport is going to be there if there is a fight around this Baron in a minute and a half's time. So Keen's not going to have his teleport for that. All In will have his, but not going to be able to defend, most likely. Let's see what happens as 6 items are approaching for so many of our players. Mercurial Scimitar, the last one to be done for Ruler. We've got what looks to be a Spirit Visage on its way for Rascal, as he's moving up this bottom lane to continue putting on his pressure. Rabadon's Death Cap completed for BDD. He wants his Void Staff to come in as soon as possible, as the Forbidden Book was completed by the Azir also. And Life is building towards a Rabadon's. So there you go. That's a thing.
Might as well. He's not really going to stack up his book, but some more flat damage is not going to hurt.
Nope.
Doesn't decide to go for any other support items. Just wants to be chunking people down alongside of his Ezreal that he's going to be on top of for most of the time.
Flat AP is also the best way to build up your heal as well. And despite all of the heal deny, if they are able to disengage from Afreeca, which their composition does allow them to do, they will be able to heal up very, very quickly. Because, of course, Morellonomicon's Grievous Wounds only last so long.
Side of Afreeca with another hard engage out of Keen, but they're not going to have TP for the next fight. We saw multiple times Keen making the difference by getting in position on the set and starting the fight on their terms and creating space for the Caitlyn. But if you're always kept at arm's length like this, you're not going to have a good time as the Afreeca team. You're just going to get poked out. You're not going to have time to lifesteal as the Caitlyn. So Gen.G looking to keep their opponents at arm's length here.
Oh no, the answering flank onto Keen's flank is coming in. As All In teleports towards the mid lane. Yeah, it is absolutely flankception. As now we're looking to try and keep Keen out of this fight. Great kickback onto Dread, who goes golden immediately. Clid going to answer as well with his own stopwatch as Rascal coming on in. Keen coming on in, but Rascal's out again immediately, and Keen has managed to find himself his flank position. Gargoyle Stoneplate comes forward as BDD's trying to kite this one out, and Keen does now find himself susceptible to return fire. Dives on in, there's the showstopper, but he will go down immediately. Dread locking down BDD at the same time. It's a 1-for-1 so far. But you can see Afreeca still with position on this mid lane. Dread very close to falling, but is going to stay alive. And now Afreeca looking to break the base at 43 minutes.
And it might just be able to, I don't know if they're going to be able to take down a Nexus here. Let's see how aggressive they do want to get, as it's mainly just Ruler and the Yuumi. They're going for it now. The Rascal with the GA.
Yeah, Dread is very low, doesn't have stopwatch or Zhonya's available at the moment. Is now Rascal going to get cocooned up? They should be able to find themselves the GA. They do. Mystic finds the autos. as he misses everything else. I mean, just misjudging the timing there on that GA, but maybe just a celebratory round of spells there to be thrown in.
Shot Mirage coming up here. He's trying to get it down with his Qs on the minion wave. You see that ticking up here. Is he going to go for it?
Yeah, he is going to find it.
He
shoots it
missed
towards
the top lane wave with it. That's not what you want to see.
Yeah, it's not what you wanted. Okay.
Oh, man. That's really kind of sad.
That's a big yikes. You're getting so excited about this potential True-Shot Barrage, and then it goes to
He throws it into the wind. They're just going to try to burst down the Baron here. Dread is nearby. This is risky.
Yeah. Maybe expecting Dread to go back home because he was so low is now BDD. He's going to join them, but Gen.G are going to pull away from the Baron, not wanting to risk a 50-50. As now, Afreeca will clear out vision and try and set up for this approaching fight. Keen in position with his showstopper available. And now, Afreeca's turn to head towards the Baron buff. Clid playing frontline as there's the blast gun. It moves Clid completely back in, and he's exploded. Light finds himself without a host. And now Ruler, he can't find his way in. BDD's going to have to do something incredible, but the Baron's already dead. Afreeca may have just found their window.
Yeah, I think they found it right there with Clid being zoned essentially by the traps, but he walked through them in the first place, and then he decides to go back to Keen, who very smartly is able to hit that blasting plant right away and pop Clid right back over the wall there. I think this should be game as super minions are pushing in and the Baron buff is available. 5v3. Let's see if Gen.G with the Azir can stop him.
Oh, there's a showstopper from Kane. Immediately goes golden underneath that turret as well. The last Nexus turret is taken down. Emperor's Divide does nothing to this Afreeca Freecs roster, who will eviscerate the Nexus and win game one. It was a good early game. They fell into a bit of a trough, a bit of a valley in the mid game, but then this gentleman on your screen right here pulling them all the way back in. Really nice play from Afreeca to not get tilted from a mid game that they let slip.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had a good understanding of what their composition was meant to do. You saw them just turtling in the base, but it was really smart. Initially, it looked kind of like, oh, they've given up, but you just sit back, you wave clear, you give a bunch of worthless Cloud Drakes over to the side of Gen.G, and you just wait. And by 45 minutes, Afreeca with Mystic on their lineup, and Senna even getting fed. Set was super tanky. They had a bunch of great engagements that went their way in the late game, and Mystic was just doing insane damage by the end of it. And actually, that's all they needed to do was wait for that later game and fight over the important objectives rather than trying to force it in the mid game.
Well, I mean, it's not like Gen.G's composition doesn't work in the late game either, right? Like, they could certainly manage to get a late game fight, but the problem is that Renekton's nowhere near what Set is capable of doing.
Yeah.
And also, it just looks like Keen is able to read the map so much better as the game goes on. We often talk about this guy as being a cerebral top laner, but all of the engagements that he started were game-winning here in these last few engages for Afreeca. This was just beautiful to watch. As, yeah, the Yuumi put all of her stock into the Lee Sin, and that was certainly the mistake of the cat on a book.
Yeah, they follow up by just pushing down the mid lane. No reason to get complicated, go for Cloud Soul or anything like that, as we were waiting for Azir in the late game rather. Wasn't able to do much. Went for one last opportunity.
Oh, Mystic actually Mercurial splashed out of the Emperor's Divide knockback as well. That was really, really clean. Great to watch. Massive damage out from the Caitlyn. But I think that despite the damage numbers not necessarily sitting there for Keen, it was his sort of game-winning flanks that were able to get Afreeca back in this game and wrestle some control. And it was a beautiful game to illustrate what Caitlyn is as a champion, right? Because we saw her dominate the early game, fall off in the mid game, and then come back with 6 items in the late game and just be that just turret of damage.
Yeah, and so many of the fights were really broken up towards the end. It was really just the difference of the top laners. The flanks out of Rascal, not nearly as good as the flanks out of Keen, as multiple failures we did see in some of those late game fights, and that's all Mystic needed to have all the room in the world to do her damage.
Exactly right, but we are going to have a game number 2, and it'll be happening right after the break.